There's no more important topic for living out the gospel of Jesus Christ than the area of marriage and family life. And it's for that reason that Pope Francis, when he became Pope, asked the bishops of the world to come together and to collaborate with him in a process called a synod. How do we make the gospel of Jesus Christ present within our family life and marriage in this culture in which there are so many obstacles to living out the gospel vision of what marriage and family life can be? The fruit of that work that Pope Francis began with this synod from all over the countries, all over the world, it was a document that he called The Joy of Love. How we in our family life attempt to be Christ-like, but in a realistic way. This synod really was an effort here in San Diego to take the lay leadership here in this diocese, to sit down with them and the priests and the sisters in the diocese, sit down all together in a long process and in some depth reflect, all right, in light of what the Pope has said in The Joy of Love, how do we make this real here in San Diego? What are the particular challenges we face? What are the particular opportunities that we have? How do we bring the gospel into families when there are great stresses, when they're fragmented, the challenges of single parents? How do we deal with those who have been divorced and feel alienated from the life of the church? How do we say to them, Christ is calling you and the church is calling you also? How do we bring spirituality into family life? It's a very grave challenge now, because very often pretty young parents don't feel easy praying with their kids. How do we reach out to young couples and say to them, being married in the church is a wonderful celebration of the love and the permanent commitment you make, and we invite you to take that step. The Synod here in San Diego is an effort to address those very questions through the eyes of the lay leadership and the priestly leadership of our diocese, and to say, what steps do we need to take in the coming years to make marriage more what we all know it should be? The Diocese of San Diego is very, very diverse culturally, ethnically, racially. And for that reason, it brings a richness to the life of our parishes and our masses and our school communities. And that's a challenge on one level. But on another, it's a real opportunity, because what the challenge of the Synod process has been in terms of its addressing multicultural issues has been to try to find strategies which will seize upon the genius of married and family life, which is in each culture. One of the challenges we have here in San Diego and throughout much of the United States is that the bonds of extended family and the support systems of extended family, which were once there, are no longer there for many, many families, many, many married couples, that they're living outside where they grew up or where their families live. And so, as a result, they can be stranded. And so, one of the challenges that we have is, how do we create in our parishes sustaining networks of support? One of the specific elements that came up, for example, was what it means to be a single parent family. And in most dioceses in the United States, that would mean people who are either unmarried to begin with, or divorced, or one of the spouses died. But there's two other major things here in San Diego. One is families where someone is deployed, the military, which is such a big part of our culture and society here in San Diego. When a spouse is deployed, that makes them single for a period of time in terms of the demands it puts on spouses. And how do we as a church help that? And the other area was that of deportation. We have families where people have been deported, where one husband or a wife is no longer there to help with the family because they've been deported. Those are distinctive elements here in the Diocese of San Diego that make us different and give us specific challenges here. The topic of inclusion in general came up within the working group on spirituality, because what they said is, we really need in our marriage outreach and family outreach to stress the fact that families are all-inclusive. It includes single people, it includes people, the homeless, the marginalized, it includes everyone. It includes gay and lesbian peoples too. They're all part of our families. And thus, when we talk about a spirituality of family life, it has to convey very powerfully the fact that Christ calls to each and every one of us and invites us to be part of this family, which is the church, but also part of family life and the families into which we're born and which are created in our lifetimes. What we're hoping for is, first of all, that the synod will point us in the direction of bringing to bear, particularly at the parish level, making parishes magnets of family life, which speak to people's hearts and souls about what Christian family life can be.